Good morning. Let me start by sharing 3 simple vignettes with you. A growing and very successful international bank had been expanding rapidly, recruiting as fast as they could and reaching into new customer segments. They were growing with tremendous success. After a bit of growth, though, they discovered that their operational discipline had gotten slack, and the number of defects and errors that were creeping in was getting to be severe. For example, in one of the core business processes, their mortgage process, the defect rate was 97%. That may sound hard to believe, but the defect here is either that the wrong amount gets disbursed, but also small things like asking for the same documentation several times from the same customer, or asking to have documents notarized or not notarized in an incorrect manner. So 97% error rate. They decided that we have to get this under control. Otherwise, we will be at risk in the community. We will get the scrutiny from the regulator, and we will, in the end, fail. So they launched the transformation, and within 6 months, they got this under control, and the defect rate in the mortgage process, to use that as a little bit of a benchmark and reference, was 3%. A stellar success. Vignette 2. One of the largest electric utilities in the world, operating in more than 20 countries, had discovered that really we are working in silos in a way that is unacceptable. Working in silos is a common phenomenon, and many of you will have exposure to this, but let me tell you how bad it had gotten for this electric utility. They might discover that one customer was not paying their bill, and so they dispatched a work order to cut the electricity for this customer. And the work order went from the customer services silo to the engineering silo, and electricity was cut off to this customer. Later in the same day, the customer would call in and say, I have a complaint. I have no electricity. There's a blackout here. And the customer services department, not having the overview, not having the information, responded to this as a regular error and a fault report, and dispatched a crew to fix this and restore the electricity, because clearly there was a problem. So this was, of course, unacceptable, and they launched a substantial transformation program to integrate data and information, integrate business processes, and integrate groups and the whole way of working. 2 years later, having invested about 50 million Sing dollars, which is not an enormous amount, but it's real money, the whole effort was shut down and closed with nothing to show for it. An abject failure. Vignette number 3. A large public services institution in the region here decided that they had gotten too bureaucratic and too internally focused. They needed to free up more of their management attention, their time, their effort, their budget, to really serve the constituency that they were established to serve. They did the assessment, and they figured that they could free up about 100 million Sing dollars annually in perpetuity by just streamlining and integrating and harmonizing internally, and transfer the freed up capacity to really serve external stakeholders instead. 2 years later, the entire effort was shut down. They had by then invested about 100 million Sing dollars with very little to show for it. Again, abject fiasco. Now the ratio here, my 3 vignettes, is not so great. I shared with you one outcome that I consider to be a stellar success, and 2 abject failures. That's not a great way to start the day. That's not very optimistic. But that is the ratio that we see. When we survey senior executives who have been involved in transformation efforts across public and private sector, across industries, that's roughly the ratio. 2/3 of transformations fail. So the odds are kind of against us when we launch or get involved in a transformation. And I know that many of you are leading transformations today. Maybe we have a selection here today of particularly skilled and energetic and gifted people who achieve higher success rates. But the odds are not great. So it behooves you who are involved in those kinds of efforts to gather the information that you can about what are the leading indicators that will get you to success, and how can you adjust and configure your transformation efforts so that you achieve that level of success that you are aiming for. So as Juan mentioned, I have been working in this field for 30 years, and I will draw on some of that personal experience. I will also draw on these surveys that we have done among senior executives throughout the world, and we surveyed more than 2,000 transformation efforts to glean the insight into these factors.